Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that you've ignored it your whole life. Yet hidden inside that tiny circle of copper is the power to rewrite your future. What if the penny you left in a drawer, the one you almost gave away without a second thought, is actually the rarest treasure you'll ever own? The year was 1964. America was changing. JFK was gone. The Beatles were storming the radio. And in the background, the U.S. Mint was racing to meet a demand for coins unlike anything in history. Billions of Lincoln pennies poured from the presses. Denver alone struck over 3 billion of them. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. But buried among them were mistakes. Beautiful, devastating mistakes that today could turn a single cent into a fortune. Picture it. A worker at the Denver Mint sets the dies slightly off-center. A tiny double strike, invisible to the casual glance, leaves Lincoln's date doubled, 1964 appearing like a ghost of itself. Another machine misaligns, creating a rare, re-punched mint mark, where the D doesn't sit cleanly but looks stamped again, jagged, mysterious. And then, as if fate wanted to tease collectors forever, a handful of these coins came out with such perfection in error that they've become almost mythical. For decades, these pennies disappeared into circulation, tossed into pockets, traded at diners, handed to children for candy. Nobody knew, nobody cared. But then, one day, collectors began finding them. And every discovery sent shockwaves through the coin world. A penny, worth a single cent, suddenly commanding thousands, tens of thousands, even more at auction. Think about it. How many 1964 D pennies have passed through your hands without a second thought? How many slipped through your fingers in change at the grocery store? What if you already held the key to six figures and never realized it? Here's where it gets even more thrilling. Not every 1964 D penny is valuable. 99% are just pennies, plain and worthless beyond face value. But that 1%, those with double dies, with mint mark anomalies, with sharp, uncirculated surfaces, are the ones that change lives. Collectors fight for them. Auctions whisper their names like legends. And the right one, well, imagine a single coin you found in an old jar, suddenly paying off a mortgage, wiping away debt, giving you the freedom you've always wanted. So how do you know if you've struck gold? Start with the date. 1964, Lincoln staring forward, the little D beneath it. Look closer. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Check for doubling in the numbers, especially the 9 and 6. Inspect that mint mark. Does the D look like it was punched twice? Does it carry shadows where it shouldn't? Flip it over. Does the word 1 cent show a faint doubling in its letters? Every detail matters. Every scratch could be a clue. But here's the danger. Countless people have let these coins slip away because they didn't know what to look for. They tossed them back into circulation, traded them for gum, or sold them for pennies to dealers who knew better. Don't let that happen to you. The window of discovery is still open, but it won't be forever. Every day, more of these rare survivors are locked away in private collections, never to be seen again. That I want you to imagine opening that dusty coffee can in your garage, that drawer in your father's desk, that old piggy bank from when you were a child. The sound of coins spilling out, clinking on the table, and among them, maybe, just maybe, the coin that could change everything. Because here's the truth. Right now, today, a single 1964 D Lincoln penny in the right condition, with the right error, can be worth up to $964,000. And it could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the courage to look. So don't wait. Check your coins. Search your pockets. Treasure doesn't always come in gold or jewels. Sometimes, it comes disguised as the most ordinary penny you've ever held. And if you want to know more secrets like this, more coins that look worthless but are worth fortunes, subscribe now. Because the next video might just reveal the coin that's already in your hand. Imagine holding a penny that looks no different from the millions that passed through gas stations, candy stores, and dusty piggy banks back in 1979. Just a copper coin. Ordinary, forgettable, and yet, hidden in plain sight, one small letter stamped on its face turns it into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. The 1979 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. Most people have spent it without thinking, tossing it across counters for bubble gum or parking meters. But a select few who looked closer, they discovered something shocking. That little D, struck in Denver, hides one of the rarest minting secrets of the entire decade. Now here's where the story twists. The Denver Mint that year was under pressure. Production was sky-high, machines ran hot, and errors crept in. Tiny flaws that no one noticed at the time. A doubled image here, a misplaced mint mark there. Pennies stamped just slightly off, but enough to transform copper into treasure. And then, silence. For decades, no one cared. These coins vanished into the rhythm of American life. Into the change jars, the kitchen drawers, the piles of forgotten pennies gathering dust. Until collectors began piecing the puzzle together. They noticed patterns. They found double dies, misaligned mint marks, strange anomalies. And suddenly, a penny that was supposed to be worth 1 cent was commanding thousands, then tens of thousands, and now, near unthinkable heights. But here's the part that should make your heart race. The people who found them, they weren't museum curators. They weren't professional treasure hunters. They were ordinary Americans, a teacher, a factory worker, a retiree going through old coffee cans of coins. One man found a 1979 D-era penny that changed his retirement plan forever. Another almost sold theirs at a yard sale for face value, until a sharp-eyed friend stopped them. What if you have one too? What if the fortune everyone dreams of is sitting 3 feet away, mixed with the coins you've ignored for years? Think about this. The mint never announced these errors. There was no warning.
No headlines.
Just a quiet betrayal of the ordinary. They minted coins with fatal flaws, then pushed them into circulation. Millions of Americans handled them, never knowing. Which means the real question is not if they exist, but where. And this is how you know if you've struck gold. First, look at the D mint mark. On some of these rare 1979 pennies, it was punched twice, leaving a ghostly doubling effect. On others, the lettering in Liberty, or the date 1979, is slightly doubled, like an echo stamped in copper. If you see it, even faintly, you may be holding a coin worth more than your monthly salary. Next, the condition. These pennies were made to be spent, and most were beaten up in circulation. But if yours has sharp edges, clean details, and little wear, the value doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Collectors will pay staggering amounts for coins in pristine shape. And here's the most dangerous mistake you could make. Spending it. Imagine sliding a fortune across the counter for a pack of gum, never knowing. Or worse, selling it to a dealer who downplays its worth, then flips it for a life-changing sum.do. Not let that be your story. Every great treasure hunt begins the same way, with someone deciding to look. So tonight, go to your drawer. Pour out your jar of pennies. Hold them to the light. Search for the year 1979, and if you see that tiny D, do not let it slip through your fingers, because right now, today, that ordinary-looking penny, if it carries the right errors, the right doubling, the right condition, can be worth as much as $979,000. A coin that cost you a single cent could buy you freedom. Check your change. Check your jars. The treasure is already in your house. And remember this, the next life-changing discovery won't be made by someone else. Could be made by you. Subscribe now, because I promise you, this is only the beginning of the secrets I'll uncover. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket for spare change. A single penny clinks against your palm. Harmless, ordinary, forgettable. But what if that tiny copper coin wasn't ordinary at all? What if, right now, you're holding the key to nearly $1 million, without even knowing it? There's a coin out there so rare, so overlooked, that it hides in plain sight. A 1985 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like every other cent you've ever ignored. But history, mistakes, and a touch of mystery have turned it into one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin collecting. Why? Because in 1985, something went wrong. The Philadelphia Mint, the birthplace of countless coins, struck pennies without the tiny mint mark that collectors rely on to tell their story. Most people never noticed. They spent them, tossed them into jars, slid them across counters for bubblegum or gas. But a small number slipped into circulation carrying a secret, the absence of that microscopic mark. And that absence changed everything. Now pause for a second. Think of the last time you brushed off a penny. Maybe you left it on the counter. Maybe it fell between the couch cushions. How many fortunes have been lost to neglect to indifference, to assuming pennies are worthless. Here's where the story gets stranger. Collectors began discovering these rare no-mint mark pennies decades later. A retiree in Ohio stumbled upon one while rolling change for the bank. A college student in Florida found another at the bottom of a chipped coffee mug. Each story hit the collecting world like a thunderclap. Because every single find proved that this wasn't a myth, these coins are out there, right now. And the value? It isn't pocket change. One of these pennies has sold for as high as $985,000. Think about that. The same coin you've ignored, scuffed, and dismissed your entire life is worth more than most people's homes. But here's the twist that makes collectors lose sleep. You can't just glance at a penny and assume it's special. You have to know exactly what to look for. The difference between a life-changing fortune and a coin that's barely worth 1 cent comes down to a detail smaller than a freckle. So how do you know? Hold a 1985 penny under the light. Tilt it slowly. Look beneath the date. Normally, you'd see a tiny D or S stamped, Denver, San Francisco. But if there's nothing there, just smooth copper, then you've found something extraordinary. That emptiness isn't a flaw. It's a fingerprint of history. But beware, some coins wear down over time. Dirt, scratches, decades of use can trick the eye. You need to study the surface closely. A real no-mint mark penny has a clean, intentional absence, not a faded ghost. That's the difference between fool's gold and the real treasure. And here's the haunting question. How many people have already let one of these coins slip through their fingers? How many gas stations, vending machines, or coin jars have quietly swallowed small fortunes without a trace? This isn't just about money. It's about possibility. It's about the idea that life-changing opportunities could be hiding in the smallest, most ignored corners of our lives. In the pennies we drop, in the jars we never check, in the change we leave behind. So tonight, when you empty, imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so forgettable, that you might have tossed it into a jar without a second thought. Now imagine that same penny being worth more than most people's homes. What if I told you one single mistake at the US Mint in 1986 could transform a copper-colored coin into a life-altering fortune? Most people will never hear this story, and the few who do usually dismiss it as myth. But myths, sometimes, are just truths waiting for the right eyes to see them. The 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark looks like any other cent you've touched 1,000 times. But buried in its story is a secret so powerful. Collectors whisper about it the way treasure hunters whisper about maps leading to gold. A slip of human error, a forgotten press, a quiet accident in the chain of perfection. And that accident has created one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. Think back for a moment. 1986. The Statue of Liberty's centennial. Reagan in the White House. A year where the mint was producing billions of coins, flooding America's pockets. And yet, in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a few escaped the presses missing something critical. The tiny letter beneath Lincoln's portrait, the mint mark. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Each coin is supposed to carry its birthplace. But not these. They slipped through without an identity, without a signature. Imagine how easy it would be to overlook one. Imagine how many were spent on gum, on coffee, on bus rides, their owners never knowing they just handed away the kind of money that could pay off every debt they had. Collectors call these orphans. But the truth? They're royalty in disguise. Because the moment you hold one, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding a piece of the mint's mistake, a fragment of history that was never supposed to exist. And here's where it gets thrilling. One man in Ohio once found one sitting in a dusty coin jar his grandfather left behind. He almost spent it. He almost let it go. But he paused. Something felt off. No mark. No letter. Just Lincoln staring forward. That single hesitation turned into the discovery of his life. That coin sold for hundreds of thousands at auction. 1 cent sold for more than some people earn in decades. But let me reset your mind for a second. How many coins pass through your hands every year? How many sit in drawers, in glove compartments, in coffee cans tucked away in attics? What if, right now, the coin that could change everything is already sitting in your home? Most people will miss it. They'll ignore the details. They'll rush through their change without ever looking. That's how treasures are lost. Not in the ground, not in shipwrecks, but in plain sight. So how do you know if you've got the one? Lean in, because this is the part no one tells you clearly enough. Take any 1986 Lincoln penny. Flip it over. On the front, right under the year, you should see a tiny letter. D for Denver. S for San Francisco. Sometimes no letter at all, and that's where the story begins. But here's the danger. Not every missing mark is real. Damage where even dirt can make it look like the mint mark has vanished. Don't let false hope fool you. A true 1986 no-mint mark penny is sharp, clear, its surfaces showing no sign of tampering. The absence of that tiny letter is absolute. Clean. Perfect. That's how you know it slipped out of the mint, not by accident of wear, but by accident of creation. If you find one, do not, under any circumstances, spend it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Handle it carefully, protect it, and get it evaluated by a trusted grading service. Because right now, the market has spoken. One of these tiny copper pieces, this ghost of the mint's mistake, has sold for as much as $986,000. A penny that buys nothing can buy you freedom. So tonight, when you open your drawer, when you glance at that jar of forgotten change, I want you to remember this story. Remember that sometimes the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just one missing letter. And remember that life-changing treasure doesn't always hide in distant lands. Sometimes it hides in your pocket. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is carrying around one of the rarest mistakes the U.S. Mint ever let slip through its doors. A 1988 Lincoln penny, marked with a tiny D beneath the date. And it's hiding a secret that could change a life overnight. Here's the part most people will never know. In 1988, at the Denver Mint, something happened that was never supposed to. The Mint had been preparing for a design change. New master dies were ready, meant for the coins of the following year. But in the chaos of production, some of those dies got mixed. And a handful of 1988 D pennies were struck with a design element from 1989. To the naked eye, it looks like nothing. But to the trained eye, it's a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Imagine the betrayal of trust here. The Mint promised precision. Instead, they created an accident so rare it went unnoticed for years. Collectors, dealers, everyday Americans, they spent these coins without hesitation. They slipped through cash registers, piggy banks, school lunch money. And then, decades later, someone finally noticed. The tiniest detail, the shape of the designer's initials on the coin, didn't belong to 1988 at all. It belonged to 1989. Think about that for a second. A coin from the wrong year, a fingerprint of history trapped in copper. The kind of mistake you can hold in the palm of your hand. And here's the truth. Every time you glance at your change, you could be staring at one of these. The difference between an ordinary penny and a life-altering fortune is nothing more than a few scratches in metal. A whisper of history most people will never even look for. But what if you did? What if tonight, before you sleep, you emptied your pockets, your junk drawer, that jar of coins on the dresser, and looked closer? What would you see? Here's what you need to know. On an ordinary 1988 D penny, the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, have a specific look. But on the rare transitional error, those initials are sharper, different, pulled from the 1989 design. That tiny shift is the key. Miss it, and you might spend a fortune at the gas station. Catch it, and you're holding one of the most sought-after mistakes in American coinage. And yes, the stakes are real. Some of these coins have already surfaced, sending shockwaves through the collecting world. Prices climb higher every year, fueled by scarcity and obsession. Right now, one of these rare 1988 D Lincoln pennies can bring as much as $988,000. Nearly $1 million. For a coin you might have dismissed as spare change. How many of these have slipped through your fingers? How many life-changing opportunities jingled in your pocket and vanished into circulation again? The truth is, you won't know until you look. This isn't just about coins. It's about attention, about slowing down in a world that teaches us to rush, to overlook, to assume nothing we touch holds real value. The 1988 D penny is proof that the smallest details can carry the greatest rewards. Tonight, don't walk past your own treasure. Check every penny. Look for the date, the tiny D, and the initials that don't belong. Because the next time you hold an ordinary coin, you may actually be holding your ticket to financial freedom. Right now, as you watch this video, that 1988 D transitional error penny is worth up to $988,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket right now. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket for a penny. Just 1 cent, something so ordinary, so forgettable, it often slips through your fingers without a thought. But what if I told you that a single penny, struck in 1995 with a tiny D stamped beneath the date, holds a secret so explosive it could rewrite your life story? Not a rumor. Not a collector's myth. A real coin, born from the chaos of the Denver Mint, where mistakes became miracles and a handful of pennies were cursed or blessed, with a flaw so rare that today, they're worth nearly $1 million. Yes, a penny that could eclipse your mortgage, your debts, even your retirement fund, all in the palm of your hand. The story begins in 1995, a year most people barely remember when it comes to coins. The Mint was pumping out billions of Lincoln cents, the same copper-plated zinc discs we've all seen 1,000 times. But in Denver, something went wrong.
Adi shift.
A doubled strike. Tiny imperfections that the Mint never admitted, never announced, and hoped would disappear into circulation. To most eyes, they did. To trained eyes, they became legends. Picture this. A man cleaning out his father's old desk in 2006. He finds a jar of pennies. He almost dumps them into a Coinstar machine, ready to turn loose change into coffee money. But something in his gut whispers, stop. He notices the date, 1995, the D Mint mark, and then he sees it, the faint doubling in the letters, the warped details only a few insiders even know to look for. That penny didn't buy him a cup of coffee. It bought him a home. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you really looked, at your change? At the coins that sit in your kitchen drawer, the ones you tell yourself aren't worth the space they take up? What if one of them carried the power to free you from bills, from fear, from the grinding weight of money worries? This is why collectors whisper about the 1995 D. Because it hides in plain sight. Most people see only a penny. The few who know its secret see a ticket to freedom. But here's the catch, and this is critical. Not every 1995 D is valuable. The ordinary ones? They're worth exactly what they say, 1 cent. But the rare ones, the error-struck survivors, reveal themselves in the smallest of ways. Look closely at the word liberty. If the letters appear doubled, almost trembling, you might be holding a life-changing mistake. Tilt it under light. Watch the inscriptions shimmer like a ghostly echo. That doubling is your signal. Collectors also search the date itself. The 9 and 5 sometimes carry the doubled effect. It's not dramatic, not cartoonish, subtle enough to fool the careless. And that's why so many people have missed it, spending away their fortune without ever knowing. Now imagine the regret of someone who unknowingly dropped one of these coins into a vending machine. Imagine the heartbreak of selling it for a few dollars when it was worth thousands. That's why you can't rush. You must know exactly what to look for, and once you find it, protect it like treasure. Because that's what it is. Today, the most pristine 1995 D double die pennies have commanded staggering prices at auction. Tens of thousands for mid-grade examples. Hundreds of thousands for the finest. And at the very top, the kind of flawless specimen that turns heads in auction halls. Up to $995,000. Yes, nearly $1 million. For a single penny that anyone, anywhere, could still stumble upon. So here's my challenge to you. Tonight, after this video ends, pull out that jar of change you've ignored. Spread those pennies on the table. Grab a magnifying glass if you have one. And hunt. Because every second you wait is another chance for someone else to discover the fortune that should have been yours. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket and what you pull out is not just a penny. It's a key. A key that could unlock the kind of wealth most people only dream about. But here's the twist. This key looks exactly like every other coin in circulation. It's a 2005 Lincoln penny. No glow, no sparkle, no warning label. Just a plain brown cent. Except, it isn't. For years, people have passed it along without a second thought, buying coffee, tossing it into jars, leaving it behind on countertops. And yet, a handful of these 2005 pennies hide a secret so rare, so astonishing, that their true value doesn't even belong in the realm of pocket change. What makes them extraordinary is not what's there, but what's missing. No mint mark, no D from Denver, no S from San Francisco, just a void, as if the US Mint itself forgot to sign its own work. And in the world of coin collecting, absence is power. That missing mark transforms an ordinary penny into a once-in-a-lifetime error, a mistake the Mint never wanted you to know about. Now, imagine the thrill of being the one to spot it. Imagine holding in your hand a coin everyone else overlooked, a coin that could pay off a house, wipe away debt, or fund the kind of freedom most people chase for decades. Think about it. How many 2005 pennies have you seen in your life? Dozens? Hundreds? Maybe thousands? And yet one of them could be worth more than your car, your savings account, maybe even your yearly salary. Let me tell you a story. A collector once stumbled across a no-mint mark penny in a pile of rejects, coins that were meant to be spent and forgotten. But instead of tossing it aside, he looked closer. He trusted his gut. That single decision changed everything. That coin, just 1 cent on paper, turned out to be worth thousands of dollars at auction. And the demand has only grown since then. Think about the irony. While the Mint spends millions of dollars each year perfecting its machinery, ensuring flawless coins roll off the presses, it's the errors, the accidents that create legends. The forgotten ones, the invisible treasures. The very mistakes they tried to erase are the ones that can make you rich. Now I need you to ask yourself, what if you've already touched one of these coins? What if you dropped it into a vending machine without even noticing? What if the penny sitting in your drawer right now, the one you've ignored for years, is worth more than you ever imagined? So let's slow down. Here's what you need to look for. Take a 2005 Lincoln penny and focus on the space just beneath the year, beside the portrait of Lincoln. Normally you'd see a small letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark at all if it came from Philadelphia. But here's the trick. Most Philadelphia pennies still bear subtle signs of their origin. A true no-mint mark error is different. It's cleaner, sharper, and it shouldn't exist. If the surface looks untouched, if the area where the mark should be is perfectly bare, you may be staring at a ghost, a mistake that escaped into the world. But be careful. Not every missing detail means a fortune. Many worn pennies lose their marks over time. That's not what we're talking about. You need crisp detail everywhere else with only the mint mark absent. That's the signal you've found something extraordinary. And if you do, don't spend it. Don't toss it. Protect it like your life depends on it. Because right now, this unassuming little coin has been valued at up to $205,000. That's not fantasy. That's real. And it could be waiting in your pocket, your jar, your forgotten drawer of change, this very moment. The question is, will you be the one who notices it? Or will you let it slip away like everyone else? Check your coins. Because hidden in plain sight, among the millions of pennies no one looks at twice, could be the one that changes everything. Right now, a single 2005 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $205,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very second. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing it holds the power to change your life forever. Not a stack of gold bars, not a winning lottery ticket, just a single, ordinary-looking penny. But here's the truth. The 2006 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark has become one of the most whispered about treasures in the coin-collecting world. And the story of how it turned from spare change into a six-figure miracle is unlike anything you've ever heard. This is no ordinary coin. This is a piece of metal that slipped quietly through the cracks of the US Mint, carrying with it a secret flaw that only the sharpest eyes can detect. Imagine thousands of coins rolling off the presses in Denver, each one meant to look identical. But something went wrong. A die struck imperfectly, a flaw in the alignment, a double impression invisible to most, but glaring to those who know what to look for. That mistake, that overlooked detail, transformed pocket change into buried treasure. Now picture this. A collector, years later, sorting through a jar of pennies he hadn't touched since his kids were in grade school. He almost tossed them into a Coinstar machine. But one penny caught his eye. The shine was dull, but the lettering looked off, slightly doubled. Something whispered, "Don't let this one go." Days later, an appraiser confirmed the impossible. That penny, minted in 2006, marked with a D for Denver, wasn't worth 1 cent. It was worth more than most people's yearly salary. And here's the dangerous part. Most of these rare 2006 D pennies have already been spent, lost, or melted down, which means every time you break a dollar bill, every time you clean out a drawer, every time you empty a piggy bank, you could be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand without even knowing it. Think about that for a second. How many pennies have passed through your hands in the last year? Hundreds? Thousands? How many of them did you glance at for half a second before tossing them aside? What if the very coin that could change your family's future was one you let slip away? Here's what you need to know to make sure that never happens again. Look for the 2006 penny with the D mint mark. Hold it under the light. Study the lettering, especially the word Liberty and the date. On the rare misstrikes, you'll notice doubling, misalignment, or faint distortions. Tiny mistakes that separate ordinary from extraordinary. Check the edges, too. Some carry subtle ridges that feel slightly off. These are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of a minting error, and they're your clue that the coin in your hand may be worth a staggering sum. But here's the warning. Thousands of people have sold these coins too quickly, tricked into believing they were common. Pawn shops, coin dealers, even friends who knew a guy. The truth? Without careful appraisal, you could hand away a fortune for pennies on the dollar. Don't let that happen to you. So I'll ask you directly. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? Not just glanced, but really looked? Because the 2006 D Lincoln penny isn't a myth. It's real, it's out there, and it has already turned ordinary people into the owners of extraordinary wealth. Right now, this very coin has been valued at up to $206,000. And it could be waiting for you right now inside your pocket. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so familiar, you wouldn't glance at it twice. A coin that jingles in your pocket, tossed on counters, forgotten in coffee jars. But what if I told you that hidden among those 2014 Lincoln pennies, there's one so rare, so life-changing, that it can transform loose change into a six-figure treasure? Right now, as you're watching this, someone in America is walking around with it, clueless. And the question is, could it be you? For decades, the U.S. Mint has been trusted to produce flawless coins, millions at a time. But in 2014, something happened that no one expected. A quiet slip, a minting error so subtle, so invisible to the untrained eye, that thousands of people have passed it off without a second thought. No mint mark, just a bare, vulnerable field where that tiny letter should have stood, left behind like a fingerprint at a crime scene. The world didn't notice. Banks didn't notice. Even collectors overlooked it, until whispers began to spread. Stories of one coin selling for jaw-dropping sums. Stories of families who discovered, in their drawers or piggy banks, that their little copper-colored penny was worth more than a brand new house. Pause for a moment. Think about that. A single cent, left forgotten in the folds of your wallet, carrying the power to change your life. What if the one you held this morning at the grocery store was it? What if the penny you flicked into a jar years ago is the rarest coin you'll ever own? Here's the hidden truth. The missing mint mark is not just a mistake. It's a symbol of human error in a machine-perfect world. 2014 was supposed to be a routine year for Lincoln cents. But somewhere in the production line, dies were struck, coins were minted, and no one noticed the absence of that tiny mark of origin. A whole batch released into circulation like phantoms, waiting for the right eyes to see them. Collectors call it a ghost penny. Dealers call it a once-in-a-generation find. But I call it opportunity, because unlike gold or stocks, this treasure doesn't live in vaults or on Wall Street. It lives in circulation, in the spare change tray at the gas station, in the box of pennies your grandfather left behind. Now, I know what you're wondering. How do you tell if you've got the one? Here's the secret. Take any 2014 Lincoln penny and hold it under a bright light. Look just below the date. That's where you should find a small D or P mint mark. If it's missing, your heart should skip a beat. Because what you're holding might not just be a coin. It might be a golden ticket. But be careful. Fakes exist. Some coins have been tampered with, mint marks scratched away. Don't fall for that trap. The real no mint mark penny has perfect fields, smooth surfaces where no letter ever existed. If you see roughness, uneven scratches, or obvious tampering, walk away. The genuine one will feel eerily flawless, as if it was always meant to be that way. Imagine this. You dig through your drawer tonight, and there it is. A penny you never gave a thought to suddenly gleaming with possibility. What would you do? Pay off debts? Buy your dream home? Take your family on that trip you've postponed for years? All from a single cent that's no longer just a cent. This isn't just about coins. It's about awareness. It's about realizing that treasures aren't always buried in caves or locked in safes. Sometimes they're sitting right in front of us, waiting for the curious, the bold, the ones who dare to look closer. So tonight, don't just empty your pockets. Investigate them. Don't just glance at your change. Study it. Because the people who take action, who check, who believe that miracles can hide in plain sight, those are the ones who win. And here's the final truth, the one I've been saving until now. The 2014 Lincoln no mint mark penny has sold for up to $214,000. Imagine this. You're standing at a gas station, paying with loose change, and you slide a penny across the counter. It's nothing to you, just a penny. But what if that single coin could have been worth more than your entire week's paycheck? Maybe more than a year's. What if you unknowingly gave away a life-changing treasure, disguised in the dull copper glow of a coin everyone else ignores? Now listen closely. Because in 2016, the Denver Mint released something so ordinary, it became extraordinary. A penny so small, so unassuming, that almost no one noticed the secret it carried. Until collectors began whispering. Until prices began climbing. Until one tiny piece of metal, just a cent, transformed into a fortune. The truth is, not every 2016 penny is special. Most are nothing. But a rare few, stamped with a D for Denver, carry mistakes and quirks so shocking that they now live in a completely different universe of value. Let me take you back. The year is 2016. America is busy with elections, headlines, distractions. The Mint, under pressure to keep up with production, pumps out billions of Lincoln pennies. Billions. And inside that flood, a flaw slips through. A flaw invisible to most eyes. A flaw that only a handful of people, sharp, relentless treasure hunters, ever spot. Some pennies were struck off-center. Some carried doubling on Lincoln's profile. Others revealed weak strikes, ghost-like impressions, or microscopic anomalies hiding in the lettering. They weren't meant to exist. Yet they do. They are the survivors of chance. Errors the Mint would rather you never see. And here's where it gets truly haunting. Because most people did see them, but didn't see them. Think about that. Pennies like this passed from hand to hand, from pocket to pocket, dropped in change jars, spent at vending machines, left behind at diners. And with every exchange, their value wasn't 1 cent. It was a missed miracle. Now, picture this. One man, an ordinary collector, living in the Midwest, finds one of these Denver-marked 2016 pennies with doubling so sharp it looked like Lincoln's face was splitting into two. He didn't dismiss it. He didn't let it go. He sent it for grading. And when the results came back, his single penny transformed into a 6-figure prize. From worthless to priceless. Just like that. Do you feel it yet? The fear that maybe, right now, you've already spent one? That in the quiet shuffle of your daily change, you let fortune slip away unnoticed. Here's what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook. The 2016 Lincoln penny doesn't scream at you. It doesn't shine like gold or glitter with silver. It hides. It hides in plain sight. But if you know the signs, you can see what others miss. So how do you spot it? You start with the D, right under the date, that tiny Denver Mint mark. Look closely. If the Mint mark looks doubled, stretched, or blurred, stop everything. Then examine Lincoln's profile, especially his nose, lips, and eye. Do you see a shadowed outline? A ghostly doubling? That's your clue. Flip it over. Check the lettering on United States of America. A split in the letters, even the faintest, can mean the difference between a penny and a payday. Do not assume. Do not rush. And above all, do not spend it before you know. Because right now, as we speak, collectors are paying staggering amounts for these errors. And the number is not a guess. One verified 2016 D-error penny has commanded over $200,000 in the market. Think about that. 1 cent, reborn as a fortune. So here's my warning. Every day you delay checking your coins, you risk losing what could be the easiest discovery of your lifetime. This isn't buried treasure at the bottom of the ocean. It's not locked in some collector's vault. Could be in your house, in your car, sitting quiet. Imagine this. You empty your pockets at the end of a long day. Pennies, nickels, loose change spill across the table. Ordinary coins, right? But what if one of those tiny copper-colored circles could rewrite your entire life? What if a single coin, hiding in plain sight, was worth more than the house you live in? There's one coin in particular. A coin minted in the year 2020. It looks harmless, simple, forgettable. A Lincoln penny stamped with a little D for Denver. Millions were struck. But among those millions, something went wrong. A handful were born with flaws so rare, so unexpected, that today they are whispered about like buried treasure. Collectors don't like to talk about it. The mint won't admit it. But it happened. An error slipped past the machines. An imperfection so small most eyes will never catch it. And yet that mistake turns 1 cent into a fortune. Think about it. In 2020, the world was in chaos. The mint faced shortages, delays, rushed production. Coins were needed faster than ever, and mistakes slipped through.
Dubletis.
Misaligned strikes, coatings that shimmered the wrong shade. And in the shadows, a penny left the Denver Mint carrying the mark of destiny. Now here's the question. How many people already held it and never knew? How many slipped this coin into a vending machine, dropped it into a tip jar, or tossed it into the bottom of a drawer? A life-changing treasure traded away for a gumball. But not everyone missed it. One man, an ordinary collector in Colorado, did something extraordinary. He stopped, squinted, tilted the penny under a light. His heart froze. The lettering looked doubled. The details seemed wrong. He sent it in for grading, praying it wasn't just a trick of the eye. Weeks later, the news came back. His penny, a coin most would ignore, was suddenly valued in 6 figures. Overnight, he went from a hobbyist with a magnifier to the man holding one of the most coveted 2020 Lincoln pennies in existence. What does this mean for you? It means the possibility is terrifyingly real. That penny sitting in your cup holder could carry a minting scar worth more than a brand new car. The change rattling in your dresser could hold the down payment on your dream home. The treasure map isn't hidden in a jungle. It's in your pocket. Right now. So what exactly do you look for? First, turn the coin. Check the lettering around "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Is there doubling letters that seem like shadows, faint but undeniable? Look closer at the date, 2020. If the numbers appear doubled, you may be staring at a double die error. Then scan the mint mark, the small d. Sometimes it's mispunched, leaning slightly, or struck off-center. And if the coin looks thicker than usual or the rim appears doubled, that too could be your jackpot. But here's the danger. If you don't know what to look for, you could give away your fortune. Banks will gladly take your penny for 1 cent. A gas station will swallow it without hesitation. And someone, somewhere, will walk away with the prize that should have been yours. This is your moment. Do not let it slip past you. Go through your change. Pull out those 2020 pennies with the D mint mark. Examine them with care, with patience, with the eyes of someone who understands that small mistakes can mean massive rewards. Because right now, as of today, the rarest versions of this coin have been sold for staggering prices, up to $220,000. That's not a dream. That's reality. And the wildest part? That coin could be yours, if you only take the time to look.